Explain the situation that led to him actually being the first person to seriously suggest you one day run for governor.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly the year it was, but I mean, I was invited down to come to the Nixon library, and I always felt kind of like he was the one that made me become a Republican. Because when he was campaigning in 1968, just when I came to America, there was a month of campaign still left to November, because it was in October when I came over to America. I had a friend of mine that spoke German and English. They translated for me the debates and the discussions and everything like that. And whenever I heard Humphrey talk about politics, it sounded to me like, I'm back in Austria. Socialism, give away everything and, have government be involved in everything and all this stuff. They say, oh, that's not what we need. I just came from that. And when Nixon talked, it was refreshing, talking about, the world is our, business place, and we should trade around the world, and we should sell our goods around the world, and we should have, the world sell their stuff to us, and open up the borders, and talking about get the military strong and law enforcement strong, law enforcement, and I love that, and get government off your back. I said, wow, that sounds really great, lower the taxes, that sounds also great, and on and on. So whatever he said, it just sounded fantastic. And I said to myself, I said to myself, what party is he from? And my friend was a Democrat, and he says, oh, it's disgusting. He says, he's a Republican. And I said, well, you know something? Then I'm a Republican. I said, because I love what this guy says. So I always contributed me becoming a Republican, Nixon. He was the one that really turned me on and that really articulated it the right way. And so when I was invited to the Nixon library, of course I jumped at the opportunity. And then I heard, when I got there, that actually Nixon is going to be there. And I said, wow, this is wild. And so I went there, and it didn't take long. They brought me over to him, and they introduced me to him. And then he started talking to me very enthusiastically, and he was excited to meet me. And then he talked to me for another 5 minutes alone in his office. And it was fantastic, the conversation and everything. And then he said to me, he says, you have political instincts, he says. You should run for governor. Out of nowhere. Now, like I said, this was way before I ever thought about doing anything in politics. And so then he was told that he should go and give a toast. And it was, it was packed. And he went up on stage, I remember, and he gave a toast. And he gave a little speech and talked very enthusiastically and very, very eloquently, and thanked everyone and all this and that. And he said, now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome up a great actor, entertainer, but, someone that really knows about politics, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, he, of course, didn't tell me at all that he's going to call me up, or do you mind if I have you come up and say a few words? I mean, nothing. So it was the last thing that I was, kind of ready for. But for some reason or the other, the more organic you are, the better chance you have to shine. So I just basically told the people, as I said, the only thing I can really say at this point is to tell them the story, how I became a fan of Nixon, and told them the story about the campaign and how I watched him every day when he was campaigning, and his speeches and this and that, and Humphreys, and kind of told it so, and it was a huge applause. And then afterwards he came to me and says, I'm telling you, Arnold, if you ever run, I would endorse you. And it was like, kind of like, I said to myself, this is unbelievable. And then he sent me photographs, that we took together at the Nixon Library. I remember Bob Hope was also there, and other celebrities, and he would sign it, and I still have the photograph in my office.